Welcome back to our studios, Anucheth. So good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to you, to BTP.
I wish you and your listeners the same.
Anucheth, I want to ask you first things first. How was 31st night for the Bangalore Traffic Police? How did we transition into 2025?
I think it was a good transition. We didn't have any accidents that day as opposed to 6 last year. It was a good start, I would feel. But compared to last year's, I think the crowd was lesser this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what we were able to gauge, at least in terms of vehicles, was far lesser than compared to what was on the New Year Eve 2023. Yeah.
And what is the resolution for BTP? Does it have any resolution for 2025 or keeping it just simple?
I mean, our resolution has always been road safety, so we want to reduce accidents as much as possible. It was a good start also in terms of the comparison to 2023. I think fatal accidents and deaths reduced by 2% and overall accidents reduced by 4%.
That's a big number.
Every life saved is priceless. So I think it was a good start, yeah.
Now, if you look at 2025 with the vehicular population that Bangalore is going in with, say about over 1 crore vehicles.
Yeah,
and
1.2 crores. Yeah.
And I believe more than 85% of those are privately owned.
Yeah, we are the largest number of privately owned vehicles in India.
We beat Delhi recently, right?
Yeah, we
Not
Delhi.
A title that we should be very proud of. But what is Bangalore looking at in terms of long-term, mid-term and short-term plans from the traffic perspective?
Well, I think on a day-to-day basis, movement of vehicles is primarily very important to us. So in terms of that, one is ensuring that the parking and rather the wrong parking is taken care of. I think primarily in peak hours, right? What I feel is that the road capacity reduces primarily because of parking on either side of the road. I think that we are going to take up in a very firm and strict way this year, much more than last year. The other is the wrong side driving. I think this is on a day-to-day basis. These are infractions which actually affect traffic flow in not only they affect road safety, they affect traffic flow as well.
Sure.
So mid-term, which we will discuss, I mean, shortly would be the signaling, right? So signaling would be that the move towards AI-based signals, which would help us, optimize the signaling time,
right?
And secondly, use our force judiciously. I mean, although we are a force of 6,000 people in Bangalore, it is not sufficient for a city as big as Bangalore.
Would that make it 1:how many? What's the ratio, Anucheth?
Depends on what you consider a population of Bangalore.
Yeah, that's also true.
Statistics are the same.
So midterm would be the AI adaptation of signals, large.
Yeah, the move towards that, right? So I think at the end of March of this year, we would be having about roughly about 500 signals, a little more than 500 signals. So already of which about 200 would be AI based already by the end of March 2025.
That's a pre-mid goal, I think, which you'll achieve by March. Mid would still take you all the way to
Yeah, so we would
July.
require a couple of years. No, not July, a couple of years to move completely towards all AI based signals.
You mean 100%?
Yeah, I think we should go towards it.
We'll discuss this in length, Anucheth, and also your long-term goal before we go to the rest.
I think traffic is something which affects everybody, and also I think we look traffic from a very myopic view. I think we need to look at mobility in the larger sense, right? Traffic forms a part of mobility. I think we want to contribute towards that. I think we are already doing so. One thing that we are trying to do is create a digital twin for Bangalore, wherein we understand traffic flows. We work on the digital model.
You call it digital twin?
Yeah.
What a cool name.
Yeah, so it's nothing. It's basically
is it the virtual avatar of Bangalore essentially?
Bangalore traffic in real time. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are trying to collate data from all the other line departments like BMRCL, BMTC, and other things, and we are trying to emulate and simulate what traffic scenarios would be if we change something, right? If I would make a particular street one way, how would it affect traffic flow without actually implementing it on the ground? We can see it there and then try and implement it, right? Or if the one way is working at all, I mean, we have about 229 one ways in
We're the one-way capital of India, aren't we?
Yeah. So whether it's working or not, or whether if I would reverse the one way is better, or making it a two-way is better. So all those things we can do so. So in the larger run, when we create the twin and we get the data, we can also contribute towards mobility. We can suggest that, for this particular day, this particular time, this would be
cool.
ideal. Yeah. That would be ideal, yeah.
And that would be your long-term planning.
That would be long term, because it would take a lot of data crunching, a lot of numbers to do so. But we have put the platform in place. I think it's building on it now. I think the fundamentals are there. We just have to build on it.
Now let's move on to what happened last year. Q3, if I'm not wrong, Anuchet, is when the BATCS project was implemented.
Yeah, it's still ongoing.
But initially the first batch came out?
First signal came up in about, I would say, August of 2024. It started in May 2024. The first signal was operationalized in August of 2024. Right now we have about 101 signals which have been operationalized. At the end of March 2025, we should have 165 signals operationalized in this BACTS project.
Are you focusing essentially on South and West Bangalore, where there's less metro work and less infrastructure work?
Yeah, that was a conscious decision to implement it in South and West of Bangalore, because there was no metro work happening as opposed to East and North Bangalore.
Right.
Because it simply doesn't make sense to have isolated signals. Ideally, these signals should be in a corridor or in a group, right? Cluster would be ideal, yeah, to have. So we chose West and South of Bangalore.
And the goal you've set for March is still again limited to West and South?
Yeah, so the phase 1 would be 165 signals. Completely all of them are in West and South of Bangalore.
Are they all brand new signals, Anuchet? Are they upgraded signals from the previous cameras that were installed on some of them as well?
No, it's completely brand new.
Everything's new stuff?
Maybe even the poles I think we have changed. Yeah.
Okay. And most people believe that there are two modes on this. They believe there's VAC and MNL. I believe there's a third mode as well.
Yeah.
Can you just break down all these three modes for us, please?
Actually, there are 4 modes of operation. I think what happens is, people generally see a VAC mode or a MNL mode. So the 4 modes are manual MNL. There's the VAC, which is a vehicle actuated mode. There is something called as the FTS, which is the fixed time signal. And the 4th mode, ideally, which we want all the signals to be operating at, is the ATC mode, the adaptive traffic control mode. So MNL is manual, where the signal is being operated by our traffic constable there. The fixed time signal mode is when the signal is saturated. So it moves on to a fixed time mode, where all the arms of the signal are loaded. VAC and the ATC mode are the adaptive modes. VAC mode is when the signal single-handedly or in a solitary mode, where it is operating in AI mode. It is detecting how many vehicles are at the junction and which junction get more preference.
Right.
So ideally, more vehicles, more preference to that junction. So we would be able to optimize signal that way. ATC's mode is when signals along a single corridor are synchronized to one another. And
which corridors would these be? I know there are some.
There are 4 corridors, but again, it's an algorithm, right? So it needs some perfect conditions to happen for it to get synchronized.
Right.
So I would say of the 101 signals which we are operational right now, in a given period of 24 hours, about 96% of the time we are on ATC mode or VAC mode.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, our manual signaling reduced to 4%, right? So, whereas opposed to 40%.
Would it be safe to say that means this is effective?
It is effective, yeah. It has been effective, quite effective. In about 7 junctions, we completely removed a traffic constable, because to do the signaling, we don't have to manually do the signaling there at any given point of time.
You also made a statement saying that the congestion has reduced by a third, which is about 33%. That's the...
No, I think...
or was that in a particular junction were you talking about?
Yeah, in a particular junction. It's not the congestion, it's the throughput. So
that's how you look at it, throughput essentially, right?
Yeah, I think congestion is a very broad based, and it's a perception also. So if you see in terms of how many vehicles are crossing a junction, what it was before, how many are able to go through in a particular period of time, I think that's a very good way of indicator. Overall, it has been about 17%. Yeah.
Which is not bad given Bangalore's traffic.
Yeah, it's quite good, yeah.
But you mentioned the 4 signals, the 4 modes, and you said there are places where you don't need a cop to stand there. Do you think there's a psychological impact of not seeing a policeman there in behavior of commuters, even though there are cameras?
No, absolutely right. So I think what I meant to say was that they are not doing the signaling. We don't need the cop there to do the manual signaling. It works on its own fine. Even if he's not there, it'll work. No, we will have them.
What I meant was, are the cops still there despite it being on VAC?
I think we should have them, right? Like for example, if a cop is there, he can do enforcement as well. Like for example, rule breaking by terms of breaking a red light, stop line violation or something.
Helmet or...
Yeah, so the presence of a policeman is absolutely necessary and he will be there. It's just that he'll move away from doing signaling, which would, I think, takes up a lot of his time and energy, which can fruitfully use for something like we can give, instead of a fixed point, we can give him an area like 50 meters on either side of the road where he would do a small beat. He would find out if parking is there. He can this thing. So I think more fruitful use of manpower and more judicious use of manpower would result from such a kind of a system.
So it's a combination of technology and basically manpower together.
Absolutely. So the philosophy that we
somebody sent us a message saying what a pointless effort. If you've got digital signals, why would you put a man there? So your idea is slightly different, that it's a combination of the two.
I think, see, what happens is, I think everybody compares us to some other system in some other city or some other country where the social milieu or the the system itself is totally different. I think for a city like Bangalore, we need to have cops on the road. It's just that the role will change. I think the role would be going from manual signaling to something more effective. I think if we start enforcing, the rule breaking would come down. And like I said, if you give him a small area of say 50-meter radius or 100-meter radius, he would be able to enforce things better there. It is just not about the ensuring the signal turns red and green, right? It's much more than that. So I think it would be required.
Now, can we take a listen to some messages, Anucheth, that have come from people? Some are really happy with VSC, some are not. It's not possible to please everybody, but we try and take as many perspectives as possible. We'll take a listen to a few and you can answer some if you feel up to it.
Sure.
We'll start with, there was one question which is very interesting. Even I thought, because I felt, please take a listen to this, and I want to know if it's happened to you.
Hey Disha, good morning. This is Sudesh here. I was hearing about the new traffic systems. So I travel from Hebbal to Electronic City, and in my route I see there are around 6 or 7 junctions where the new systems have been installed. But what I see is there are few which are VAC mode and there are few of the signals in the manual mode. So I'm not sure if that really serves a purpose. And secondly, the system will be able to learn about the traffic pattern.
One of the questions which I can't seem to find is the timer. Now, earlier there was a timer which we all loved. There's a 20-second, 30-second. You can mentally prepare that, okay, this is when I move. Now with these new signals, it just changes immediately from red to green and green to red, or maybe there's an amber transition in between. Can you give us a timer? Is a question a lot of people want to know. Can we know how long we have to wait?
So there is an amber. It was a conscious decision to introduce amber and not do away with it, because we have to give importance to pedestrians as well. And if you see where the signals are, a majority of them carry a lot of pedestrians. And if you want to think of urban mobility in a bigger sense, and if you want to promote public transport, we have to take care of pedestrians, right? So there is an amber. Second, so with regard to the timers, right? So I mean, it is
this lady said she got a ticket cut because it immediately turned from red to green. She said just when I was crossing, it turned red from green. Earlier there would be a 8-seconder, 7-seconder. Is that technically possible?
Yeah, it is technically possible. We are working on it. I think we'll be able to give a 5-second countdown between the red to green and green to red. We'll be able to give.
And those 5 seconds would be the amber light?
Yeah, would be the amber light. We'll be able to give the... So even if it is going to change. See, what happens with VAC mode, I cannot tell that this many seconds will be given, right? So say I give a counter of 90 seconds and no vehicle comes in after 50 seconds. The signal will automatically switch to some other thing.
Correct.
And abruptly, when it has come down at 50, the rest 40, the rest 40, it becomes 0. So, I mean, then people will start criticizing what kind of a timer.
Oh yeah, that is tricky.
So it is a very tricky situation. It's not that it's not possible. So what we thought was a midway. So can we give a 5-second heads up to everybody? I think that should be sufficient.
Yeah, 5 seconds should be sufficient. Can't be too greedy. 5 seconds is also good. There was a report that came out just yesterday, starting of the year. Bangalore's in the eye of the storm. They're saying one of the slowest traffic in Asia is Bangalore at 28 minutes for 10 kilometers. Now, Anucheth, see, the thing is, there are various factors that determine the traffic and mobility in a city, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's the behavior of a commuter, and of course traffic management. A lot of times people confuse the role of BTP to infrastructure, and it all gets a bit muddled up. Would you like to clear the air, take the opportunity to remind people what the role of BTP is and how it doesn't overlap into the other aspects that add to traffic?
Yeah, just to tell about that report I think is a rehashed version of the 2023.
Are you fed up of reading these reports? I want to ask you, Anucheth?
No, I think the person who actually reported it, I mean, I don't want to name who reported it, but it was based on a Instagram handle. I mean, and it's based on 2023 data of TomTom.
Yeah, it is, Tom, you're right.
But it's 2023. I'm waiting for the 2024 data, right? So this was published in 2024 Jan. And it already Bangalore was derided, saying it's the sixth most congested city. And you take the same data a year later, because the new year started, and you rehash it and say okay, fine. Accept it that all those things are there. But I think we should also look at, how this is being reported, right? I think just for the sake of reporting, I don't know. And
does this make your job difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, see what happens in the general sense, negative news travels faster.
Yeah.
It sells, right, compared to anything positive. So, I can do 100 good things, and a report like this gets more mileage than the 100 good things, right? So, it does make the job difficult. And coming back to what the role of PTP is, I think we have not much say in the physical infrastructure, right? We don't maintain the physical infrastructure. So a lot of people ask us, this bottleneck is there, this is there. So that comes under the line department, such as the BDA and the BBMP, who create the flyovers, who create the clover leaves, who create the underpasses and other things. We don't maintain the roads as well. So a lot of potholes and other things are tagged to us. We do have a good coordination with BBMP and primarily BBMP, and the other department would be the PWD, which maintains certain roads, and the NHAI. Right?
Yeah.
So we do have this thing in terms of water logging or in terms of potholes and other things. We do bring it to their notice, and they do take it up on a regular basis, right? So, and the third thing is what we do in terms of the small infrastructure that we do is like the signaling, the line demarcation, the solar cat eyes, the blinkers, like that we do. Even the thermoplastic marking is done by the BBMP. We only take up thermoplastic marking in certain areas which affect the traffic signals. Right? If my traffic signal or my enforcement camera is dependent on the line marking there, we won't have the line marking there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is your role essentially, and people should not confuse it for bad roads, for flyovers, for potholes, for bus stops having a stoppage right after signal.
So we do work with BMTC regularly on that. But see, I think everybody sees from their own perspective, right?
Right.
If a vehicle owner or a four-wheeler driver, he would see from his perspective that the bus stop is affecting him. But if I give a bus stop which is 100 meters away, even a small thing like 100 meters away, many people might not use it, which is a fact.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of old people, a lot of young children, a lot of ladies who might not be able to go there for various
Especially abled people also, you gotta make it friendly.
So if you're not making commuter friendly, they're not going to use it. So we can shift it a little ahead, but that shifting of small distance might not help. Ideally, you would want to shift it a long distance. There might not be space also. That this would be the ideal space to put it. So I think everybody sees from their own perspective, and when you see from a holistic view, you would accept those, reduction
flaws
in speed of. No, that's the way it is. I think
it is. The population of Bangalore is exploding. Land is only that much.
Yeah. So if you say Jalalli signal is there, Jalalli signal at any given instance, it sees 6 to 7 BMTC buses coming at the same time. Now people might say why you don't synchronize them, or why the fixed timing is not given and all those things. But the fact is, the number of people standing there then because it's the 6-7 buses also not sufficient. They would ideally want to put more. The Sumnalli junction, where a lot of garment factories are there, a lot of people come. If you go there at about 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the evening, I think there are about 5,000 to 6,000 people just at the junction, and no amount of buses will be able to carry them that fast. So from a BMTC perspective, I would like to put as many buses as possible so that I can take them, right? But the junction cannot handle. So we have to work within the system.
Yes. Right? And you have to balance the act between BMTC, BBMP, BTP.
And commuters and pedestrians.
The main aspect are the commuters. Yeah. What about commuter behavior? How would you describe commuter behavior in 24? What kind of changes would you like to see from commuters listening in the year 25? See, people have a lot of expectations from you. I'm sure you can have some expectations from the commuters as well. What would that be, Anucheth?
I think one thing which we would like to see is improved focus on safety. I think you don't take care of safety only because a cop is standing there, right? I mean, you take care of safety for yourself. I mean, simple things like wearing a helmet with a strap. I mean, strapping in, wearing a seat belt, simple things like that, which are not using a mobile phone. I think the attention gets diverted a lot. And the other behavior of taking a shortcut by way of going against the flow of traffic. Primarily what happens is wherever the metro has come, the median has been closed. So people try and take shortcuts and try and go against the flow of traffic. I think that
is that causing a lot of problem?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's dangerous. I mean,
Yeah.
see, one thing, it causes congestion because the other side of the vehicle coming from the other side blocks it, or it becomes very slow. That's one thing which affects on the entire corridor wherever this thing is
Yeah.
happening. And second, it's very dangerous, right? Imagine, I mean, generally we
Head-on.
find e-commerce delivery guys trying to take this so that they go faster or reach their this
They've
thing.
got deadlines, 10-minute deliveries and 12-minute deliveries. And Bangalore has a huge population of those on the electric bikes. And
Yeah, so I think that we would like to see, and we are trying to inculcate good sense into them as well. I mean, many of them were not even aware that they should not go on a footpath. Footpath is meant for pedestrians.
what do you mean they were not aware?
They're
They
not
actually
aware.
believed it's for bikers?
See, what happens with the micro mobility transport units, the smaller ones, which are what I think
EVs?
20, not EVs. The EVs have different speeds. So any EV less than 30 kilometers per hour speed, to 25 kilometers per hour speed does not require you to have a DL, right? So that's the charm of using these things. So so if you don't have a DL. Whole thing about having a DL is that you're aware of the rules and other things, right? Many of them were not aware. So when we catch them, we try and tell them that this is not done. You have to use a road. Yeah.
Do they need helmets?
No, not
Under 25, 30?
No, they don't.
Okay.
They don't require. They don't require a DL. They don't require any of these.
And that's why they seem to be so popular.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and many of them, see, I mean, you see from their perspective, right? They're all gig workers.
Yeah.
So they earn. Otherwise, what do they do for a living, right? So, and we also don't want to affect their livelihood. But end of the day, we have to balance that with road safety as well.
Yeah.
So apart from fining, I mean, fining is also a good deterrent to reduce these things. We take up education for them and take up awareness for them, and we tell them that this is not done.
Is it too easy in India for somebody to procure a driving license?
Yeah, I think so. The test is very simple, and also the penalties for not having a DL is also very less. I think that needs to be more stringent. So if like someone might feel, okay, why have a license at all, and let me do without a license.
And keep paying when I get caught.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, when an accident happens or something like that. So the deterrent factor by way of fines for not having a DL also, I think is very less. I think people who do not have a DL should not drive at all.
And the ones who get the DL get it so easily. What would you like different in the DL process, at least? Slightly more stringent, let them go through more layers, more... what can be made different in the DL?
I think that call has to be taken by the transport department, which issues the DL, but I think it needs to be more stringent. What measures, I think they would be the best people to tell.
You think people are getting it too easy, two-wheelers, four-wheelers?
Yeah, by way of their lack of adherence to norms. Because the whole point of having a DL would mean that you know rules, norms, regulations, you follow basic road safety rules and regulations. And the simple lack of it when we analyze accidents or other things just shows that they were not capable or not proficient enough to drive.
How has the 2025 plan, is there any major safety drive you're carrying out specifically, or is it going to be a more generic approach, something that we can maybe promote? Like you normally have weeks and you have like a section of 2 weeks or 3 weeks normally dedicated to a helmet safety week or something else that's specific. Is there anything happening for Jan, Feb, March, the first quarter that we can maybe promote?
Yeah, in fact, I think we are in the road safety month this month, right? So generally, what we do is we try and analyze the trends of accidents.
Okay.
What were the causative factors to accidents? What were the causative factors to deaths in accidents, right? So like wearing a helmet is not a causative factor to an accident, but it's certainly a causative factor to an fatality. So we try and reduce both. We want to reduce, in case an accident happens, we want to reduce the severity of the injury.
Sure.
Right? We want to prevent deaths.
Right.
So in that sense, wearing a helmet and wearing a seatbelt are very, very important, right? In terms of causative factors to accidents, speeding is a very big causative factor of accidents. The other one is what we call black spots, which where some engineering defects might be there, where enforcement might be lax, or things like that, which we have identified. Bangalore has 64 black spots, so we try and rectify these black spots by way of enforcement, by way of awareness, by way of improving engineering there. Primarily, majority of the black spots are high-speed black spots, right?
That's risky.
Bellary Road, the road to the airport.
It's a beautiful stretch, though.
Yeah, it reports about 10% of our fatalities
Just Bellary Road.
Yeah, just the 34 kilometers. Yeah.
10% is a
of
lot.
Bangalore's fatalities. Yeah, it's quite high. Yeah.
And
so and we have a nice road. But we were able to work with the nice authorities. We were able to get them to enforce certain things.
There was some success on Silk Board, right, Anucheth, this year? I mean, people have been saying Silk Board feels much better, much silkier, much dreamier and smoother. What happened on Silk Board? Please tell us. And what's happening in Hebbal? Hebbal seems to be every morning. I feel like people have built a template and they WhatsApp me every day the same messages saying Hebbal flyover. What's going on in both these spots? What happened at Silk Board? That's improved.
Silk Board, what happened was the double-decker flyover came in, right? I think that has contributed to a lot of reduction of traffic at the Silk Board, or the congestion at the Silk Board, I would say. Hebbal, I think what has happened is the ramp which has been broken down to create the new ramp for vehicles coming from KR-Puram. So one, that is affecting the traffic flow below the flyover, and that spills over to all the four arms of the Hebbal flyover. It's difficult to explain. I mean,
it's imaginable. It's quite, anyone who's been around Hebbal can understand. But what's the way out? Like how Hebbal just seems to slow time down.
Yeah. So I think that's why they're doing it, right? So the new ramps are coming in to do exactly that. So what the new ramp, when finalized, previously the vehicles coming in from KR-Puram, that's Nagavara side, would merge with the vehicles coming in from the airport side on top of the flyover.
Yeah.
Now they'll be completely separate.
And so when is this expected to happen? Do we have a timeline?
I think another 3 months or 3 or 4 months, I think, is this thing. So I think they're on track to do it.
So Hebbal commuters can breathe a sigh of relief saying...
When that happens, yeah, because what is happening now, people who are coming from KR-Puram, they have no means to go to Makery Circle, right? Because the ramp is not there. So either they have to come below the flyover at Hebbal Circle. Either they go straight and go towards Sadashiv Nagar, or they take a right turn, go to Kodighelli, take a U-turn, again climb up. So that is causing the...
that's hectic.
Yeah, that is. So all the vehicles which were going on top are now coming down. So that again offsets what happens to the vehicles. This primarily affects people who are using the service road from Kodighelli, Amruthalli and all those places who are coming in. They use the service road and we send the service road on the loop. Right? That gets affected and it gets worse when it rains or when floods or something.
Or breakdown or something like that.
Breakdown is a major hassle.
We want to talk about that, Anucheth, because every day we get updates. We're on a Bangalore Traffic Police group, all of us on radio, and bus breakdowns, again, not your jurisdiction, but it blocks down a road and then people come raining down on the Bangalore Traffic Police saying, look, bad management. How do you work with that? And are our breakdown rates much higher in BMTC, or is that the average across? Because we don't have other city data to maybe comparatively check, but what is your understanding of this?
We have about 34 to 35 breakdowns in a day on all the major... We monitor 21 corridors for this primarily. A bus breaking down on top of Hebbal flyover is a huge issue. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we do monitor all these things. Not just Hebbal, but all the 21 corridors like Old Airport Road, Old Madras Road, Outer Ring Road, Hosur Road, Mysore Road, Bellary Road, Peenya, Banarghatta, you name it.
You're on a rap. That was like a rap. Anucheth, which is the worst out of this lot? Tell me, which is the most troublesome at this stage, starting out 2025, saying while there are 21 corridors, 3, 4, are just like pain points.
No, I would say all of them. See, these 21 corridors, the length of this 21 corridors is, I would say, roughly about 230 kilometers, right? This 230 kilometers carries about 60 to 65% of Bangalore's traffic, as opposed to the 14,000 kilometers which Bangalore has.
This is concentrated.
Yeah.
Heavily.
What we call high density corridors, right? So we monitor these, and it's not just a stretch or a particular thing. This is the lifeline of, these are the major roads of Bangalore which carry a lot of traffic. So we have to monitor all 21.
So there are people who've really been giving us a lot of feedback on how effective it is. There are some people who are skeptical. So, we had put out the word saying it needs some time to gather data to be able to. Even VSC needs a little time to.
And also it's a mindset issue, right?
You think it is?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. It starts with us. I mean, most of our staff feel that they are better than the signals. It's natural. And,
because they've been doing this for so long,
Absolutely.
they're trained and they're like, a machine's going to replace me, no way.
And proof of the pudding is actually when it works, right? So in certain junctions, if you take 101 junctions, so certain junctions it has worked wonderfully. And I'll be very honest to admit, certain junctions it has not worked.
Which has been the most successful junction?
For us, Hudson Circle has been successful. I have to say we have been able to increase throughput in a majority, about 22 hours out of the 24 hours, we have been able to increase this thing. Ideally, I want to have 24 hours as well, but still, because we have a lot of VIP movement, a lot of ambulance movement on that route, sometimes we have to give it preference, right? But otherwise, it's been really cool. I mean, I never expected Hudson Circle to be that improved. I was also skeptical about this, whether it will improve that much, and it did. We were able to use drone shots and calculate how traffic. Yeah. So I don't know. Someday we'll probably release those.
You must. That's some great footage.
Yeah, how traffic moves in Bangalore. I think it'll be really cool to see that. If you actually take the drone footage of vehicles coming from Minerva Junction, right? I mean, it's quite incredible to see how vehicles move up to Hudson.
There's a glint in your eye. Please tell me what about this drone footage is so exciting?
No, it's we were able to just compare what used to happen before and after, right? And we just saw how fast vehicles move. It's quite seamless now as opposed to what it was previously.
And perhaps a signal where you thought it would do well, but like you said, you've been very honest and candid saying some signals it hasn't been as effective as we wanted it to be. One such signal would be?
KR Circle. KR Circle has not been that effective. It's again a work in progress, like you said.
Of course.
It's an AI-based system. It learns based on computer vision. It is calculating the vehicles and it's also optimizing the timing, how it could. And it's also rule-based. So, like, say we give 100, entire cycle should finish in 180 seconds. It is calculating based on 180 seconds. So, if you say entire cycle should move in 220 seconds, it will calculate based on that. Now, the move from 180 to 220 is the human input saying that no, this is not working, let us do that. Then in 220 it optimizes what is good or not. So in certain places we need to still work on this thing.
It's machine learning, you need some time,
and
right?
also it's traffic engineering concept, right? If we talk about, I mean, we're very you talk about some other countries, this thing. A traffic engineering principle says that ideally you should get over in about 150 seconds. But no junction in Bangalore even comes, or at least the major junctions even come close to that, right? You would ideally want at about 250 or 280 or something like that.
Oh, really?
5-minute cycles. But again, it's not good. So we are trying to optimize that itself, the peak hour. Otherwise, in non-peak hours, it works fine. I mean,
what do you call peak hours in Bangalore? This is another debate. Bangalore does not have peak hours. Bangalore is living in peak hours. What is peak hour according to Bangalore Traffic Police?
I would say between 8 and 11:30 in the morning, and evening probably 5:30 to about 8:15, 8:30.
And the rest of the day you feel is relatively smooth.
Absolutely. So if you ask me what would be the long-term need, it would be managing peak hours. It is basically the movement towards schools and
offices and tech parks.
So if we can somehow, for that commute, if we can start utilizing public transport, for all our private needs, private vehicles can be used. I think Bangalore's roads can handle it. It is just for these hours, it is, I think we need to shift towards public transport.
Only for the peak hours is what you feel.
Otherwise, commute to work, yeah, absolutely.
Anucheth, one last message before we wrap it up.
Any signal which is made by a traffic police person has the maximum congestion. A circle without any police personnel is always free flow. What does that reflect? Needs to be introspected by the concerned.
I don't know if this is a question even worth addressing, or is it just his point of view or perspective?
No, many people feel that way. They feel that if a traffic constable is there, congestion is going to happen, and if he's not there, it is working, which is not true. Honestly, given our signaling systems that we have, they're very advanced. I mean, and for the kind of traffic we have, if it works here, it's going to work anywhere in the world. Even then I find some shortcomings, and I feel in certain times the traffic constable is far better placed to get a sense of the situation than anybody else. See, people don't understand is that traffic is not uniform. By uniform I mean it is not you have mixed traffic.
Yeah.
You have pedestrians, and you have priority movements by way of ambulance, fire tender service, everything else. We have to take care of each one of them. And when you have a heterogeneous mix of traffic, vehicle type, traffic movements, it is not easy to have a uniformed kind of a signaling pattern at each junction. Each junction is different. And the guy who has worked there for 6 months to 9 months, he is far better placed than anybody else to understand which needs to go more.
How do you deal with cattle on the road? Is that something that's a concern for BPP?
Yeah, it is.
Because we compare it to different countries, but there's no country in the world where cattle is chilling in the middle of the road. That's a very unique problem to our country, and our police personnel have to deal with that.
Yeah, it is an issue. We do work with the BBMP to remove stray cattle from this thing, but it is an issue, and we have to. I mean, that's what I said. India is unique in that way. So we have various road users.
There is a bullock cart, there is a hand cart, there is a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, public transportation, pedestrian.
Yeah.
It's a whole...
Very heterogeneous. Yeah.
And no other country has something as mixed as this, unless I think the Asian belt is the only place where you would find, or maybe in Africa, but a country with this population, this economy, perhaps not, right?
Perhaps not, I guess.
Perhaps not. Yes, this was the question.
Hey Disha, does this system take care of our peculiar problem with animals? Let's say a cow is sitting in the middle of the road. Should we send a message to BBFP saying, hey, the cow needs to be moved before traffic can move?
On VAC and MNL, does it catch the cow?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
We can train it. It's a good question.
It's a good suggestion.
It's a good suggestion, yeah. I think we can. I mean, end of the day, it's computer vision, so it's how we train it. We can train it, I guess. Incidentally, this system was used in 26 cities before. But
Which system? The VAC MNL?
The COSI-COST, what you call
Yeah.
BATCS project, right? The system, the algorithm was used, but we upgraded the system to the COSI-COST 2.0 and started using it here, and it has been quite successful. Most successful, according to CDAC as well. So
we can factor in for cattle recognition and things like that.
I think so, yeah. Technically, yes. I mean, possible, but we have to see. So, like the timer also, I mean, technically it was possible. Then they implemented in 2 junctions. We were quite happy with it. So I have said, okay, let's go for all junctions. Let us go for.
So great. So timer is a possibility. Cattle recognition is a possibility.
Yeah,
these are few takeaways from the suggestions that some of our.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we never thought of this along these lines, but it's a good suggestion. Good to know that this also. Yeah. But what we do with that data is another
That's
thing.
going to be key. Anucheth, you've been so patient answering all our questions.
Thank you
so much. And before we let you go, is there a message that you want to give people who are going to be new commuters, first time in cars, on bikes? What would you want to tell general commuters as a 2025 approach to traffic and just civic sense?
Just be mindful of everybody else. That's it. I think it'll be fine.
As simple as that?
Yeah. I think we aren't. We should be.
That is true. Just take care of the other person and we should be fine.
Yeah, especially like pedestrians. I think people generally don't stop for pedestrians.
Do you think they're the marginalized community of commuters on the road, pedestrians? They seem to have the biggest struggle?
Yeah, the biggest would be that, yeah, because by pedestrians I mean people who are even going to their buses, just not walking from point A to point B,
right?
Who are using cabs, who are going towards the cab also. He's a pedestrian for that amount of time, right?
Yeah.
I'm mindful of those people. Incidentally, we reduced pedestrian deaths by 23% last year. So that
that's
was something,
big. 23 is huge.
Yeah, massive. It was 287. It came down to about 223 or 230 or something figures there. So we reduced by 23%.
Do people take that zebra crossing seriously in India?
Zebra crossing is not one thing. What we did was we identified high pedestrian death areas where there was huge conflict between vehicles and humans. We completely negated that aspect. So, for example, we channelized pedestrian movement onto a high-rise pedestrian crossing. We put high-rise pedestrian medians. We put high-rise pedestrian railings so that they don't cross everywhere.
And they prefer using it?
Yeah, they do.
Even though it feels like a bit of a walk going all the way across.
If you have no option, you'll start using it, right? The problem is if you give a space below the skywalk, then people will use that. Whereas if you force them to use, they will start using it.
And people are using it.
Yeah, and one good example would be the outer ring road between CMTI junction and Nayandhalli, right? Where high pedestrian deaths were happening. So we just got high-rise pedestrian medians, and we channelize the movement of pedestrians at regulated places where there's a high-rise pedestrian crossing, so the vehicles would slow down there.
Right.
We have had 0 deaths this year.
Zero?
Zero.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So in 2023, it was I think 18 on that road, pedestrians.
Bringing it down to 0 is the ideal case scenario.
Yeah, ideal, yeah.
Can't get better than this.
Yeah, so I think, my request would be mindful of everybody, especially pedestrians.
How wonderful. Thank you so much, and have a
I hope
great
they have
year.
a soothing experience with that. Thank you so much. Wish everyone and all your listeners a very happy new year and a safe new year.
All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.